This is the Between Shadow Society Part 8. I know that's correct because I just uploaded Part 7. Let's talk about recap first. So last time you answered lots of questions and resolved 2 threats. So the creature of Crumwood Gardens and the spider silk seamstress are no longer active threats in the city. Fig's Pigs is still on the table, however. You got a little closer as far as that goes. You determined that Patrick Fig believes he is a crow or a raven living in London Tower. And you also still need to figure out what La Hortensia loved and lost that she's trying to get back. So that's sort of where we're at with Fig's Pigs. You have 2 clues to go towards that La Hortensia thing. One of those clues is a made-up clue from David. So I just need to know like what that is at some point, David.
Yeah, I have an idea for that, and it goes towards a particular theory that maybe we can
That's
play
fine.
in.
Yeah, that's the purpose of those player-generated ones. Is you putting your thumb on the scale, saying this is what I think it is, and here's a clue that really backs that up. So, yeah, that's great. And let's talk about characters real briefly. Actually, let's check in with Theodora as well. You currently have 8 mastermind clues, so that's where that stands. Let's talk about the hunters now. Conditions are, there's still quite a lot from last time. So Sure Shots, a nose for it, is now specifically a nose for Dr. Noble's blood. Also, there is the issue of the pattern, which may have resolved itself naturally. David, I'll let you decide that. If you think it has, you can erase it. Pope, you have the sapphire and a taste for it, the it being human flesh. Dr. Noble, you are most beloved. You have music from the past and the pattern as well. Again, the pattern here may have resolved itself. I don't know like how important the pattern is anymore in the story. We can talk about that. Miss Blakely, you also have the pattern and the devil. So why don't we address this pattern issue? Like the pattern was this sort of the Horcrux or whatever, the central like thing about the spider silk seamstress that was you were able to send her on her way. Or to break her power, basically. I'm curious, do we think this pattern is an ongoing thing now? Were there like hints that it was going to be like an ongoing thing or what? I don't remember.
I think it was one of the last things that happened in our last game is me getting that condition. And I think it was while we were disposing of the seamstress. So I'm thinking it might be an ongoing thing,
kind of
but it would have to tie into
yeah.
something else, right?
Yeah. That's a fair point. I think that is probably right. What do we think about the other people who have the pattern right now?
So I took an advancement where I wrote a new move, and the pattern I think is kind of part of it.
Okay.
At least part of how I'm thinking about it. It's not like explicitly written into it. So I think the pattern is still in play for Sure Shot as well. I think he can come to terms with it a little bit better, and that might be how he resolves it.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, I think he's a little bit still fascinated.
Let's talk about the that move. What does the move do? This brand new move.
Yeah. So
is this anywhere on the sheet?
Yeah, it's on my. Yeah. It's the last move.
Yeah, I see it.
So it says during the night phase, when you voluntarily remove the mask of the man covering your true form, ask another present hunter what they notice about your true form and how well they cope with seeing it. Roll with advantage on vitality, but disadvantage with composure until you put the mask of the man back on. You may not use this move if you have the condition drained.
Okay. Okay, so that's the new move. I guess we're calling it the mask of the man. Is that
Sure.
Probably
I
makes
think
the most
that's,
sense.
I think it's a
Yeah.
good, it's a good name for it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's intriguing. So, okay. Well, then, Dr. Noble, are you stuck with the pattern? Like, is the pattern still relevant to you?
Weird, right? Because I mean, I feel like the pattern has existed since the man in the sun mask was first introduced, and then there's this recurring pattern that's like thematically going through, and it could change, but then there's this fascination now because she also has more sensitivity. That's the advancement I took, is like adding to her sensitivity to it. And so I think that because of her increased sensitivity, she is still experiencing something like there, the drive to complete the child, the drive to make sure that she can save, um, you know, those that need it, and then just this recurring pattern that can be going through her mind, whether consciously or unconsciously. So I,
And I
I
think it's
think it's still
probably,
with her.
I think probably also because you put on the sun mask, probably also
Yeah.
just further,
Oh yeah.
like
It
solidifies
entrenched her
that.
more.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
entrenched. Yeah, it's a good word.
Yeah.
Um, Fabulous. Thank you. That's great. Okay. Well, so I guess the pattern is here to stay. Pattern is a big part of the story. I will think about that. And maybe it has something to do with Theodore's ultimate plan. I don't know. We'll see. I think that's pretty much it we have to do as far as recapping goes. Are there any other questions or things we need to talk about? Okay. Well, it's the day phase.
I can get that. I can get that clue out if you want it.
Oh yeah, let's do it now. What is it?
Okay, so I think the clue is oh dear, what is Miss Fig's name?
La Hortensia.
Miss Fig. La Hortensia Fig was seen coming and going from a church in the dead of night.
I love it. That's a great clue. All right. Okay, let's talk about the day phase. Well, there's only one active threat, so you're getting a new one today. I have already started filling in the details on the sheet. If you want to scroll over, our threat is the nutcracker. It is wintertime, the Christmas holiday season, maybe not in real life, but it is in old London town right now. So let's talk about the nutcracker. A retired hunter, a former member of Hargrave House that you all know, Rabbi Rebecca Solomon, has sent a letter to Hargrave House. She asks for assistance in cracking a case close to home. You have also been reading about this case in the papers. The bodies of 3 dancers from the Royal Ballet have been discovered encased in ice and posed as sculptures throughout the city. They are Basil Lagarde, posed skating at Regent's Lake Park, Massimo Ossani, found praying at Solomon's own synagogue, and Hermes the Soaring Lambros, crucified outside St. Paul's Church. Each body has been gelded. The ballet's winter season threatens to be canceled, and Rabbi Solomon, a patron of the ballet, wants the so-called sculptor caught, probably for lots of reasons, not just because the ballet will close. She has determined the killer works at the theater, but she is forbidden to speak to staff due to previous recreational trespasses. So she's done a lot of the legwork for you. She believes the sculptor is somewhere in the theater or connected to the theater. This is a question everyone has to answer. The Royal Ballet of the Between at least, is well known for its secrecy. What wild rumors have you heard about its approach to discipline?
There's a particular room in the Royal Ballet that is used in differing and increasing levels of discipline, from the mild to the what Miss Blakely would probably find fun. on a sunny morning, sunny day.
Very good, very good. Pope, what rumors have you heard about the way they enforce discipline among the young dancers?
Yeah, I think there are rumors that some of the horrific constructions in Madame Tussauds Chamber of Horrors are not based on actual medieval torture devices, but based on punishment devices used in the Royal School of Ballet.
It's worth pointing out here that in real life 2022 ballet, they do a lot of fucked up shit to the dancers to like make their bodies work a certain way, right? Miss Blakely?
There's even behavioral punishments if you show up late for a rehearsal or a practice, if you have not practiced enough, if you haven't mastered your steps, if you haven't memorized your steps, then you go to this room that is part of the discipline process, and you practice and you dance until your feet are bleeding, until you absolutely collapse and cannot get up anymore. And even then, they're going to try and make you get back up.
Mr. Stevens, you don't seem like a patron of the arts, and you also haven't been in London very long, but I am curious if you've heard any such rumors.
Yeah, I mean, working at the gardens, I heard something that seemed absurd, but you know, what a crazy rumor these ballet folks might get up to, that to get the proper shape, if they're not doing it correctly on their own, the performers, like their arms or their legs, whatever shape they're supposed to be doing at a particular moment, to learn it properly, they have molds that they'll make them wear for an extended period of time.
Very interesting. These are all rumors. None of it's necessarily true. And that's partially because one of your questions is related to these techniques. But let's talk about the questions. We have 3 questions and opportunities. All of them are different ways of resolving the threat, much the same way as Spider Silk Seamstress was. So we shall go through them now. The first question is, where does the sculptor is what the papers have taken to calling the serial killer, where does the sculptor carve their works? It's a complexity 4. It allows you to resolve the threat by laying a trap for the sculptor, then capturing or destroying them. A slightly more complex question, but perhaps easier resolution, is what winter tradition does the sculptor still enjoy? Opportunity: resolve the threat by celebrating with the sculptor, luring them into the hands of the police. That's a complexity 6. And the most complex question, morally and perhaps, well, definitely morally. How does the Royal Ballet train its featured dancers? This allows you to resolve the threat by empathizing with the sculptor and promising them fresh materials. This will unlock a move called Dance of the Nutcracker. So you will essentially sort of like be in temporary league with the sculptor if you go this route. It is the darker option. It is the physically safer option, but it's the most complex option. So let's also talk about the mask as well. There's a mask available, an aspect of the Janus mask called the Mask of Perfection. Now, your leads are basically, you know, some places and names of victims. The victims are all still fairly fresh, so you can probably go to the mortuary to find their bodies if you wish. We have these 3 victims, Basil, Massimo, and Hermes. And you also know Rabbi Rebecca Solomon. She's a former resident of Hargrave House. You all know her well. She has a synagogue. And so you have a lot of like entrees into this particular threat, in addition to the ballet itself. Yeah, lots of like locations that are important, like, so, you know, obviously, so the key locations, you know, Covent Garden, which is where the Royal Ballet and Opera is located, St. Paul's Covent Garden, which is where the one performer was found crucified. There's just basically anywhere around that part of the city will probably be a good place to start looking. The synagogue, an actual ballet studio where they train the dancers, that kind of thing. So lots of places, the mortuary, lots of places to go, lots of places to attack it. And so with all that said, you got 2 active threats, got a passel of conditions. Let's talk about the day phase. Pope, what would you like to do today? Also, I would like to, as a role-playing challenge, I would like for you all to think about different ways of framing up the vulnerable move as well. I think that would be, we're kind of due for a shake-up as far as that goes.
Yeah, Pope's obviously first concern is to make sure Dr. Noble is set up for the day with her coffee and breakfast. But I'm also curious to understand more about what Rabbi Solomon's connection to the ballet school is. That aspect seems a little unclear to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'll tell you, you would all know that Rabbi Solomon, when she was a resident of Hargrave House, she was a patron of the arts as well. She enjoyed the ballet and things like that. Like, so that's why, I mean, you've known about this story in the papers, but as far as Hargrave House is concerned, it's mundane murders. You have no connection to it until Rebecca Solomon shows up, right? Also, another little detail about her is when she was a hunter, her thing is she has this ring of power, a ring of power that is allegedly a sort of like object of power in Judaism that she uses to trap and destroy monsters. So yeah, but yeah, Pope, so you said you're gonna go talk to Rabbi Solomon. That seems like a good plan.
Yeah, I think so.
Dr. Noble, what will you be up to today?
Of course, being the physician, she'd want to take a look at the bodies. So she'd want to go there first. But like after that, I mean, like, you know, she'd want to accompany Pope to go speak with the rabbi, seeing if she has any, you know, other information to shed light on this.
Sounds good. Sure shot.
I want to see if Pope wants to go like play some poker or something for a while, and then I want to go try and see about this Tower of London, scope it out in the daylight.
Focusing on things, yeah, like that. Probably a good idea. Okay, Ms. Blakely, what are you thinking about for today?
I was also going to request a vulnerable move with Pope. You're very popular today. If this is a manageable thing or not. And then possibly, Miss Blakely hasn't really done anything with the figs. So I think I'll probably go to the Royal Ballet itself.
Okay, yeah,
poke around.
Go to Covent Garden. Sounds good. Or either that or like this sort of like small like studio they use to like train the dancers. Like which one, the theater or the studio?
The theater. That sounds fancier.
All right. Fabulous. Why don't we have the scene between the various Pope scenes? Why don't we do those if Pope's okay with that? What would be the most logical one in the beginning, I wonder?
I'm wondering if the synagogue may well be in kind of the East End of London. And perhaps Pope could take a sure shot there and introduce him to the noble sport of rat baiting.
Okay, very good. That would be a thing. It's very Victorian. Miss Blakely, you said you wanted a scene with Pope as well. Do you want to go also to the rat baiting, or do you want to like set up something with your vice?
I'll go see some rat baiting. That could be funny.
Okay, very good, very good. Gruesome blood sport from Victorian times, right? But let's have that trio of the trio going to do this. Dr. Noble, you're on your own this morning. So maybe we'll cut over to you at the mortuary at some point. That all sounds really good. Okay, so this is your vice, Pope. So why don't you set the scene? Like, what's going on?
I think Pope takes on his way toward the district of the city where Rabbi Salmon's synagogue is located. Happens to be this well-known gambling den where they arrange various things like badger baiting and dog fights, and in this case, rat baiting, which involves a kind of circle where they release a whole load of rats, and a dog has to kill as many as it can within a certain amount of time. Dogs specially trained for doing this, and patrons bet on the score the dog will achieve. So Pope will find an excuse to duck in there and take Sure Shot and Miss Blakely with him, and say, I'm not sure what kind of sporting entertainment you have in America, Mr. Stevens, but you might be interested to see some traditional London blood sport.
Blood sport with rats?
Quite so, yes. The dogs are trained ratters, useful creatures, but in this case, we place wagers upon how many rats they may dispatch in a period of time.
The fact that you just tried to dress up how traditional and how well trained these dogs are really just sounds like you just watch dogs killing rats, and you like it.
Well, I don't know about you, Mr. Stevens, but I myself hate rats, and this sounds absolutely thrilling.
It's a demonstration of the dog's skill and training and abilities, and their use to humanity and ridding civilization of the vermin that so plague the city, sir.
It's a dog killing rats, Pope. Like, you don't have to dress it up for me. I'm in.
So I think I'm going to split you off into 2 and 1 at some point so you can have the vulnerable move. Why don't we start with Pope and Stevens going to watch that? What distracts you, Miss Blakely? What are you doing in the meantime?
Goodness. Well, this is a betting thing, right? So I'm probably going to be chatting up the bookie to see how much people normally bet, see if there's any good information that this person will give me. I'm tempting to make them a worshiper, but it's more fun if I just chat them up and make them tell me stuff about
this is
winning
one of those,
this game.
This is one of those situations where those rare circumstances where you don't draw everyone's attention when you're walking around the room because everyone is so focused on the proceedings, right? And I'm curious how that makes you feel.
Well, all these people are below me, so
you don't care.
Goodness. I mean, they should be paying attention to me, don't get me wrong. And I'm sure that as soon as I start winning, they will. But right now.
I think the bookie or whoever is who takes the bets, they kind of a I'm not going to do a Cockney accent, but like they are very, very East London, and they look at you and they're like, ma'am, you don't seem like the type of person who would normally frequent this kind of establishment or engage in this kind of recreational activity, especially not in the middle of a winter's day.
Well, that's certainly a quick judgment on your part. Now, tell me, bookie, which dog is winning so far? How many rats are they killing? What is it that we bet on here?
He will explain the intricacies of ratting to you. I don't know them, so we'll say he does. And this is a very like violent thing. Like people are sort of like standing around the little pit where this is all happening, and yelling and cheering. It's inside a building, so it's like dark, even though it's the middle of the day, and um, and there's just this smell of like blood. There is the just sound, the horrible like sounds that are coming out of the pit. It's not pleasant, but he tells you the intricacies of it. He's sort of explaining things to you. I think he's trying to like, sort of. I think you definitely have him well ensorcelled. I mean, he's kind of getting into like talking to you about all this knowledge about the sport, right, and everything. Um,
Fantastic. Thank you for all of this information. I can certainly use that to my advantage. Now, can you please fetch me some sort of cloak so I don't get blood all over my clothes?
and he will assist you. We'll come back with the scene with Pope and Mr. Stevens in a moment. Let's go to Dr. Noble and the mortuary. I think this is one of our locations on the thing. Let me look. No, it's not. It might be a mortuary worker though. No. Okay. Well, it will just be our favorite mortuary worker, Peter. I don't know if he showed up in this campaign yet or not, but he's here now. And the mortuary, these bodies are coming in. There are reporters snooping around when you get there, Dr. Noble, because this is all happening. These murders all happened within days of each other, and very recently. And they're gruesome, and they are. I mean, you have to imagine, like, or you can imagine, like, if this is in the Christmas season, these ballet dancers are being they're being posed in like religious manner, and they are performers in the Nutcracker, and they're all men, two of them very young, and they have been gelded. Like it's a salacious story, right? Like it's meant to get people's attention. So the first thing you'll have to kind of deal with is just like there are a bunch of reporters outside the mortuary, and I think when they see you, they want to know who you are and like, what are you doing here? Are you here with Scotland Yard? Like that kind of thing. Like, what do you do?
She doesn't like a lot of attention, but um, what she'll do is she will actually, I don't know if she's got the capacity for this, but she will go around to the back and like just kind of like standing there and like looking at the mortuary, but then like double around when she sees all of the reporters, and then she will ask someone on the street for their shawl, and then try to um, make herself less conspicuous so she can sneak around to the back.
When you go around to the back, you actually see someone back there who you know. It's not Peter. You know Peter as well, but it's not Peter. It is someone, an associate of Harley White, who is your contact with the Resurrectionists. This is one of Harley White's grave digging associates. Her name is Abigail Roche. She is she has very dirty boots, but vanilla white socks, pigtails and cheery dimples, and she is leaning on a shovel, uh, and her trusty shovel, and smoking a cigar. And she sees you and she goes, "I know you. You're Mr. White's employer, are you not?"
I am. Wonderful that you recognize me. I know you too, don't I? Abigail, right?
Yes, that's me, the very one. Have you been appreciating the little buried treasure that we have been
Ab-
digging up for you?
Absolutely, and I appreciate all your efforts very
I
much.
have no interest in knowing what exactly you intend to do with those body parts, Doctor, but, well, I'm sure it's in the interest of science, eh?
Absolutely.
Ah,
Science.
shocking all this stuff going on, right, with the ballet dancers.
It is. It is. I am actually here to take a look at the bodies. Are they in one of the back rooms?
All three of them are here. I came by just because I wanted to get another look at Massimo. Oh, Massimo, he was the prettiest lad I ever did see. He was a genius. I saw him every Christmas season, jumping ever higher, up and up. He inspired me, in fact, to start a new business, digging folks up instead of putting them down. In some sense, you have him to thank for your recent acquisitions.
Well, the arts are inspiring, no matter
I
which
have
one
to
they
tell
are.
you, Dr. Noble, I will not sell any part of Massimo to you.
Understood. That is a personal preference, and that is perfectly fine. I can appreciate your love of your inspiration.
Yes, yes. Well, and then I think Peter comes out at this point. You know Peter because you've done work with Scotland Yard. You have a professional connection to him, and he says, "Dr. Noble, oh, what did you help bring in these boys?"
I did not. I wanted to take a look at them to see if I could. Any more clues?
Did D.I. Pettigrew send you down?
If I said no, what would you say?
I would say, are you sure you got that quite right?
Oh, yes, yes, yes. He actually sent me a missive this morning. Yes.
Ah, very well, very well. Come on in, come on in. Ah, these reporters, oof, I wish somebody would get them out of here.
It makes your job a lot more difficult, I'm sure.
He lets you in, and we'll come back to that scene. Let's go to Pope and Mr. Stevens having a private moment, as it were, private as it can be in this instance.
It's the Great Gatsby anonymity in a crowd thing.
Mr. Stevens, this dog they're bringing out now is a very fine rat. I have some acquaintance with the trainer.
You seen this dog do work before?
I have. He would be a good bet, I think, if you wish to place a wager.
What's a lot of rats to be killing? I don't even know. Like 8?
I would say more in the region of 20.
Really? That's a lot of rats.
He's a very fast dog, sir.
Well, what are you gonna do?
I may place a small wager myself.
What about just a wager between us friends?
Certainly.
That one over there, that dog. I think I'm using my like keen senses and like empathy with canine animals. That one seems particularly desperate today. How has he performed before?
I don't believe I've seen him at work before, sir. What attracts your attention?
There's something about him. He's got a look. I wager that one will do better than the one that you pick.
Very well, sir. I would be very happy to take your wager. What shall we stake?
What do you normally wager? Just money, or do you have something more interesting in mind?
I normally wager just money, sir, but if you have anything else in mind.
There's a great deal in this city, information and things that I don't know, but I reckon there's even more in Hargrave House. Secrets. Maybe we wager some secrets.
Indeed, sir. That's an intriguing proposition. Then so be it. If your dog performs better today, I shall reveal something to you, and vice versa. Is that what you propose?
That sounds fair. Puts a hand out.
Pope spits into his palm and shakes.
Y'all do it the same here as they do in America.
Among the people of this quarter of the city, sir, yes.
These are my kind of people.
Very good, very good. Did any conditions get cleared here?
Maybe I've cleared a nose for it. There's so much blood and there's so much
You caught some
activity.
other scent. Yeah. I thought that's maybe what you were angling for. I wasn't sure though.
Yeah, I was wondering similar thing with a taste for it, that just kind of indulging in this bloodthirsty.
Yeah, it just kind of like it's almost like a reset.
Satiates
right?
that. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, you can take those off. That's good. And then Pope, you get the bonus, either invite a question or find a clue.
Why don't we? I think since it was kind of the wager in effect, we could do the invite a question. I mean, it's not exactly what the wager was, but it's
the spirit of it.
Yeah.
I like it. We'll come back to that in a moment. Miss Blakely, are you there?
I am. My apologies. I was just blowing my nose. My
No, that's
allergies
okay.
are super bad.
No, I feel that.
I'm here.
Miss Blakely, you will notice across the way, and you might have even noticed, you might have had an inkling that someone was following you here, and now it's confirmed.
Happens.
You see a tall, one-armed woman standing across the way, clearly eyeing you and Mr. Stevens and Pope. You haven't been super connected to the Fig threat, but you do know that La Hortensia is a tall, one-armed woman. That much you know. What do you do?
Well, Miss Blakely is used to being followed around. It happens to her a lot. But in this case, it is someone probably that she doesn't want to associate with. I think she's probably going to interrupt Pope and Shershot.
Very good. Let's have that scene. Just pick up, just insert yourself then.
Gentlemen, may I direct your attention to a lady standing behind me, very tall, one-armed. Sound familiar?
That's her.
Well,
Hmm.
should we take her down? What is it that you do with these figs?
Well, maybe we follow her out afterwards.
Well, it seems like she followed us here, so I can't imagine she would
You see her
leave.
bolting across the crowd, going down a side hallway. Perhaps to get away. This might be your last chance to at least catch up and see what she's doing. Out of character, you can't actually catch her, but like in character, you might be able to stumble on something, right? In and out of character.
Oh, I really wanted to do some betting.
Mr. Stevens, should we see if we can catch up to her?
Can we out of character? Can we, or does that sacrifice our vulnerable?
You can still invite the question. You're still entitled to do it later, but you can't. You per the rules of the game, you cannot catch her.
Right.
But I don't know. Might be worth seeing what she was doing here, or not. I don't know. Let it go. I don't know. It's up to you.
Yeah, I think Mr. Stevens is very into what's happening here, and he really doesn't want to go, but he will if that's our job or whatever, and somebody points that out, he'll go.
Well, Mr. Stevens, you are the fastest of us.
Fine. But you've got to be honest about who wins this thing. And then he darts off.
Well, Pope alone at last.
So Shershot's going after. Okay, good. Okay, good. Let's cut back to Dr. Noble. Dr. Noble, the three bodies, one of them is still laying out, and the other two are in storage, awaiting burial. And yeah, so what do you do?
Definitely want to use my, let's see.
Beneath the skin?
Yes. Beneath the skin move for this. Let's see. Okay. You know, I mean, granted, I mean, they've been gelded and then encased in ice and found in the position, but I do want to confirm how this particular person died. And the second question I would like to get answered would be, what would an untrained eye overlook?
Interesting. I think they both just lead to clues, right? Yeah.
Okay.
So let's talk about Massimo, who
Okay.
is the one that is freshest and still out on the slab. And this is the one that Abigail is in love with. Massimo Osani, young man, 19, Peter will tell you. He was the one who was found, quote, praying at the synagogue. And Abigail's right. He's very beautiful. He's physically a perfect specimen. He's very attractive. And you will see that just below the surface of his sort of physical beauty, you will notice the sort of like brutality of his profession on his body. There are the incredibly calloused and bruised feet, for example. There are whelps or welts on his body that indicate that perhaps, like, you know, you can see welts like on the lower back and on the lower leg and in the thigh, perhaps like to correct his posture and correct his form. But to answer your question, how did he die? I don't think the question so much is how did he die, as much as what you discover is how he almost died. You see evidence of attempted suicide on his wrists. And Peter will actually come up to you and say, I don't know if you remember, Dr. Noble, but several years ago, there were a string of suicides, young men. He was one of the attempts. Doctors saved him. That's your clue. A string of suicides several years ago that one of the victims was connected to Massimo specifically. He would have been about 16 at the time. Your second question was, what would the untrained eye miss? And here you will notice the bottoms of his feet. The bottoms of his feet actually are the bottoms of the feet are actually quite badly frostbitten. The whole body was encased in ice. And of course that, you know, there's evidence of that. But the bottoms of his feet, it looks like he was like something really, really bad happened there as far as with related to cold and ice. Those are your clues, gruesome clues that they are. I'll type those for you.
Question, is there anything particularly religious about Regent's Lake Park?
Let's
A shrine, a little altar of some sort?
Regents Lake Park, I don't know myself, but at this time of year, there is a small winter market there. And yeah, that's kind of, it's otherwise just kind of one of these like pleasure garden type places. So. Let's go over to Sure Shot chasing La Hortensia down. I mean, she goes down hall and she's standing at the end of the hall. She's very tall. She's taller than you. And her one hand is clutching a string attached to a trapdoor in the ceiling. And she looks at you and she says, "Have you come to kill me like you thought killed my son, Obert?"
And like I pull up short and do like put my hand on my gun, but I stop. Not here to kill you, not if I don't have to.
Maybe we can work this out peacefully.
What you have in mind?
Come closer and I'll tell you.
I look up at the trapdoor and its trajectory. I think I'll stay where I'm standing.
She says, "Just as well." And she pulls the string, and the trapdoor, it doesn't fall completely open. It falls at an angle so that things can tumble out of it. And there are, in fact, rats tumbling out of this little storage space. They're coming out by the hundreds, just pouring out, tumbling out, hitting the ground, running all over the place. It creates a chaos, and she books it. And you have rats everywhere. The dogs are going crazy. Everything is just, the situation is pure chaos at this point. How do you feel being covered by rats, Sure Shot? There's no danger, but I'm just curious how that makes you feel.
I think I'm a little bit like, it doesn't bug me too much. I'm just really put off. And I think like I shout real loud and all the dogs like go real quiet and like lay down.
Oh, good. Interesting. Yeah. It's going to take them a while to get this situation sorted out. So Miss Blakely and Pope, maybe you have your scene in some other way. I think we can still keep it on Pope's Vice, even though there's no actual wagering going on, but it might have to happen outside of the ratting den, as you're sort of like stepping up, perhaps. Let's just have that scene.
Well, goodness, that was a lot more exciting than I expected.
I'm glad you think so, Mum. It's not to the taste of every lady.
No, I can't imagine Dr. Noble engaging in this sort of thing.
I believe Dr. Noble has a stronger stomach than you may credit her for, Mom.
I suppose. She does seem a, well, goody two-shoes type. Does seem that you have a bit more of a rebellious streak than I initially would have expected from you.
Well, Mom, I was not always an assistant to the good doctor, who is a very fine woman.
I could always tell that about you. I always knew that there was definitely more to you than just loyalty and subservience. You've got that character about yourself. You understand what I'm saying.
I believe I take your meaning, Mom, yes.
Does seem like you might get a little bit bored sometimes, just fetching Dr. Noble's coffee and whatnot.
Well, Dr. Noble has been a fine employer and a fine friend to me over the years, and I'm happy to serve her in any way I can. But I believe being in her employ is anything but boring, as the events of the last few weeks have amply demonstrated.
I suppose if, you know, running around, fetching coffee during the day, and then chasing down baddies in the night. I mean, that's not for everybody. I would have expected you would probably want more from your life, but to each their own, of course.
What I'm not sure that I could ask for a great deal more. It's a varied life.
It's not about what you ask for, Pope. It's what you seek out. It's what you make for yourself, you know. There's always more out there for a person. There is more out there for you. I'm certain of it.
I'm not sure I take your meaning, Mom. What type of thing?
Well, perhaps over time you can learn for yourself. I wouldn't want to push you in any particular direction, of course. But it's not all just what Dr. Noble says or wants. Sometimes it could be about what you want and what other people say and what other people want. Life could be a lot more varied and interesting, you know.
I am in Dr. Noble's employ, but I wouldn't say that I life of my own outside of that work.
How often do you get to come and do things like this with your friends?
Often enough, I maintain a variety of friends and acquaintances around the city. They're most useful. I believe you've met one or two.
Well, yes, perhaps, but I don't really pay attention to. Well, anyway, there are people I associate with and people I don't. I'm sure you can understand that as a gentleman yourself.
I'm not sure I would class myself as a gentleman, Mom, but it's very kind of you to say so.
Well, then I suppose we should probably go and find Mr. Stevens. But first, if you were going to take a bet on one of those dogs, which one would it be?
Well, my initial thought had been to bet on Digger there, but Mr. Stevens pointed out this other one, and I feel he seems to have something of a keen eye. It has done extremely well.
Well, here's £5. The next time you're in there, put a bet on that dog for me. And we'll split the winnings.
That'd be an incredible amount of money.
I looked up how much it would be. I wanted to pull a Lucille Bluth. What could it cost? $10?
One banana, Michael. What could it cost?
It's quite a ample wager, Mom.
Well, I trust your instincts.
In this case, Mr. Stevens' instincts seem to be somewhat sharper than my own.
And if you believe that, then I believe that.
I think Mr. Stevens comes stomping up at that point. Like, rats under
Any
boots.
luck, Mr. Stevens?
No. She had an entire attic full of rats disappeared in the crowd of them.
Let's talk about the that little scene there. Were any conditions cleared, Miss Blakely, Pope?
I think I was angling to clear the devil by partaking in particularly devilish charm, or trying to at least.
Right. Yeah. I can see that, because the devil, especially the devil tarot card, is all about like getting people in thrall, right? Like to their vices and weaknesses. I wonder if you were just more leaning into it though than clearing it. That's my question.
That's kind of the thing. I was realizing about halfway
Right,
through, and I
yeah,
was like,
like,
"Well, I don't want to change this
I think you're
behavior,
kind
though.
of,
This is
yeah, I think
fun."
you're kind of emphasizing
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pope,
So
did you
now
have
it's
a,
extra strong.
and Pope, I don't think the sapphire really came up either.
No, I don't think so at all, no.
But it was your, you do get the bonus though. You can either invite a question from Miss Blakely or you can stumble on a clue.
Well, since I invited a question from Mr. Stevens, let's do a clue for this one.
Very good. Be thinking on that. We're going to take a break. Before we go on the break, I need to be reminded because I run so many campaigns between, I can't recall. Have you all met D.I. Pettigrew yet? And if so, what was the
I thought in the
circumstance?
St.
Wait, no. Wait, do we?
Street Ghost?
Actually, yeah, very, very early on the.
If
Yeah,
we did, it was
brief.
brief.
It was
Yeah.
really
really
brief.
brief,
Session
yeah.
1, brief
He's not the
introduction.
cop that's a worshiper of Miss Blakely, right? That's
No.
No, that was a
he was a
different
lower.
guy.
He was a lower ranking.
Yeah, okay.
cop,
So you have
think.
not
I
met D.I.
have
Pettigrew.
my I have my worshippers listed at the bottom of my
Okay,
character dude thing. Character dude
fabulous. Okay, sounds good. Let's take a 5-minute break. We'll come back. Dr. Noble, you will hear out back a voice that you know well. A man's voice saying, Abigail Roche, what barrow did you crawl out of, you ghoul-like woman? You have no business here. Begone, begone. And it is Detective Inspector Pettigrew. Detective Inspector Pettigrew is an occasional colleague of yours because of the work you do for Scotland Yard. He is a nemesis of Hargrave House, historically. And he's coming in through the back. And he says, Dr. Noble, how funny to find you here, though it is not entirely surprising. You and your colleagues at Hargrave House do tend to show up when things are afoot in the city. You know, the other day I heard about some trouble down at Cremorne Gardens, and I was most disturbed to find out that you were implicated in that trouble, Dr. Noble. 2 nights worth of trouble, in fact. D.I. Pettigrew is a small man. He wears a tweed suit. He's always writing in his little notebook. And he says, do you care to explain that? Since I have you.
I don't believe I have anything to explain. I mean, as you weren't there, I don't recall anything that would be of use to you.
Dr. Noble.
Cremorne.
It is my job. It is my duty that I've sworn to Queen and Country to pay attention to these kinds of details. It is the details that reveal things, Dr. Noble, and if you pay attention to the details, the mind makes connections. And my mind is making connections at present that I find to be somewhat troubling and yet intensely intriguing. For example, why are you here?
Well, as you can very well see from the masses of those cretins out there trying to find out about these poor fellows who have been encased in ice, then mine is of scientific curiosity. I wanted to see for myself. There was anything I could find out. And as you say, you are interested in the details. Did you pull out this one? She's not putting out with any of his BS, so she's going to proceed to march over to Massimo's body and then point out, have you seen this? Was this a particular detail that you noticed? The frostbitten feet.
Oh, yeah. And he says, well, Dr. Noble, I, of course, appreciate your professional opinion on these matters. Scotland Yard, of course, is always appreciated the help you've given us whenever we drag a new body out of the river. It's your work with Hargrave House that concerns me, Dr. Noble. I myself was registered my disapproval with my superiors when it was agreed that we would work with your organization in official capacity on the fig matter, which I should point out, there are still 2 of 3 figs on the loose, 2 of 4. That's not to say that, we're not all doing our best to bring them in, but I do think it reaffirms to me that working with Hargrave House was not necessarily a net gain for Scotland Yard in this instance. But that's neither here nor there. Maybe we all just have too many things on our plate, Dr. Noble, and maybe we should find our lane and stay in it.
Is that a suggestion or a demand?
Dr. Noble, I remain troubled by these events, all these events. For example, the bodies turning up wrapped in spider-like webbing. I'm told that at least 1 or 2 of those people had a connection to Hargrave House as well. Details, troubling details. Perhaps you'd like to come down to Whitehall and answer a few questions, Dr. Noble, informally.
I will see when I can fit you into my very busy schedule, D.I. Pettigrew. But not before.
I want a day move here to get out of his clutches. It's probably presence. If you have a personal quarters item that'd be applicable, by all means use it. In terms of your conditions that might affect it, I don't know if there are any. Let's look. No, I don't really think so. So,
checking my nothing that I can quickly look at on my personal quarters and say, yes, I would be carrying this around to be able to help me in this situation.
Right. Your flesh terrarium, for example.
All right, so
roll
let's see.
Presence. Yeah, okay. Or what are you afraid is going to happen if you fail?
I'm afraid he's going to haul me down to Whitehall and then, pretty much delay anything else that I need to do today, just to be a jerk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Roll with presence.
Oh, you gods. Oh. All right, that's a 7.
I'm going to give you a condition marked by D.I. Pettigrew. That bumps you, so you might as well just bump it up to a 10 to avoid it, because a 4th condition causes you to mark the Janus mask anyway. So
right. Okay. All right.
Yeah, mark the Janus mask. It'll be a 10.
Okay. Oh, did you say we had? Because I just love finding out what these things mean. Did you say we had something associated with this?
You do. You have the Mask of Perfection.
Want to mark that instead? That? Yes.
Let's mark it. I will tell you what it does right now. The Mask of Perfection says, each hunter, everyone, narrates the last time they danced. What was perfect in those moments? But for now, you're at a 10 plus. So how do you get him off you? What do you say that gets him to let you go?
I basically, I actually have him hand me his notebook and say, well, these are interesting details, but what does this doodle have something to do with one of your cases, or is this a bit of shorthand? Basically just delineating everything that I see wrong with his note-taking and detail-minding ability.
He's offended, but he's also thinking maybe he missed something. He's like, I may come call on you later at Hargrave House, Dr. Noble. goodness knows I don't enjoy the idea of going to that place. I'll be sure to bring a priest and a crucifix. Enjoy the remainder of your afternoon, Doctor.
You as well. You as well.
He goes back out or he'll just let you go. And he says, if you see that Abigail Roche, tell that white to get out of here.
Whatever Victorian rude gesture she knows, she's going to give it to him behind his back.
Very good. You should have said that Barrow White. That Barrow White. Send her away. Good. Let's cut back to the other group. Pope, what's the clue that you found? I assume it's for.
Yeah, I was thinking it must be something that.
Well, it could be for any threat you want. So either of them.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe that it would be something that they're fleeing Mrs. Fig had dropped or left behind in some way.
Oh yeah, something L'Hortensia left behind. What do you think it is?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Maybe she dropped. Could she have dropped a letter or like an appointment book or something like that that Mr. Stevens could have stumbled across?
I'll put appointment book. Very good. Although she's probably not keeping many appointments these days, there might be clues in the appointment book from the past.
Right, there might be like connections to other people to investigate.
Yeah, or just what she wants out of life that she's like so after. Good. That could be used to lure her to you. And then what was the question, Sure Shot, that you're going to ask Pope?
So it's actually along the same lines of the conversation he just had. I guess in like a carriage ride or something back or away from here, Sure Shot might ask, it seems as though you're a man of diverse talents, abilities, and interests. How'd you end up in the employ of Dr. Noble, and why don't you strike it out on your own? If you're in America, that's what you do, and you do great.
Yes, well, sir, we're not in the frontier here, and my upbringing was a fairly poor one. I'm from this part of the city myself, and my father and mother were both in service, and although I had something of a reckless time in my youth, I believe my employment with Dr. Noble and her family before her saved me from potential ruin if my recklessness had gotten the better of me.
Very good. So let's figure out what the rest of this day phase is going to look like. Just kind of check back in with it. We could do a little bit more in the day. Dr. Noble, you were going to go talk to Rabbi Solomon, and Pope,
I was, yes.
Yeah, Pope, were you going to go to Rabbi Solomon as well?
Yeah, I was kind of heading in that direction. So
okay,
maybe
so
we could meet
you
up.
can meet up over there. Yeah, Sure Shot. What are you going to do for the rest of the day?
So we can't answer the question until later, right?
You can do it whenever you want. That's all. That's not part of the phase structure. So.
Oh, okay. Then I think I have an idea for L'Hortensia.
Let's do it.
But we can't confront them unless it's night.
Only of Fig's pigs. Only the last one to catch has to be at night. You can do the other one in the day if you wish, but
okay.
The one that solves the entire threat has to be at night.
Okay, cool. Yeah, okay. So I have a theory that Mrs. Fig has, let me see exactly how it's phrased. She's lost that she's trying to get back. I think she has lost her faith, and she is trying to get it back by exploring a variety of faiths.
Okay, so go through the clues.
I think that the pile of religious paraphernalia is not necessarily like all of one faith.
Sure.
I think she was seen going from and going to a church in the dead of night, even though she was already associated with that other church because she's exploring another one. And I think her appointment book has appointments from the past with a variety of different like
you might
synagogues and things like that.
With Rabbi Solomon, right? Might confirm.
I know, and that's kind of what I'm thinking is we might could look in this book and see that she is supposed to have a meeting with him sometime in the future, and that could be where we come down on her.
Yeah, or Rabbi Solomon's a woman, but yeah. So that's interesting. So basically, like, you would, while you're meeting with Rabbi Solomon, you catch La Hortensia. Is that the idea?
Or we meet with the rabbi and plan this thing in advance.
Oh, I see. That's good. Okay, let's talk about clues. So the three remaining clues all fit really well. That's a +1 on the die roll. If no one has any objections, I say go ahead and roll it.
I say go for it. I really like that theory.
Yeah, religion shopping, especially after a traumatic incident that she went through, makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's very sad how like all of this fig trouble, it's because of their trauma, right?
Yeah.
Like the like very fucked up ways they all decided to process their trauma of this fucked up situation. Yeah.
Yep.
All right, then I suppose I will roll and see what happens. 12.
Very good. So that's an interesting result because it says on a 12+, the mastermind will reveal themselves while the hunters are pursuing the opportunity. So Theodora will be there during the showdown with La Hortensia. I might even extend that to Patrick as well, since it's all kind of connected. But yeah, you are now able to dispatch La Hortensia. It will be easy. You can dispatch Patrick. I think that was 7-9. What was the result on Patrick's? Do you all remember? Yeah, so that might be a little tougher. And so Figs Pigs is all teed up to be done. You just got to do the thing. Okay, interesting. Do you want to go to the Tower of London still?
I think I'll actually carry on with the rest of them to the synagogue, actually.
Okay, all right, very good. All right, well, Miss Blakely, what are you doing then? Are you also going to the synagogue?
Oh, no. That's not fancy enough for me. I'm going to go to the Covent Garden.
Yeah, Covent Garden. Yeah. Very good. Let's do Covent Garden first. So this is the home of the Royal Ballet and Opera. It is an overwhelming space. It's a temple to the muses. When you arrive, there are actually orphans praying for salvation outside, and toothy icicles melt during the day, appearing to salivate. That's how it's written anyway. This is an interesting paint the scene. The author of this incursion, Ben, has a very, very like ornate style, which I appreciate. So let's do this paint the scene. In 1728, John Rich raised capital to build the theater through the success of the play The Beggar's Opera, which satirized Italian opera at the time. What subversive or satirical elements of opera do you see that reflect this history?
There's paintings of various popular operas. I don't know what operas were written at that point and which weren't, but various paintings of popular operas done in very like detailed manner by famous artists up around the place. But all the people in it are very what's the word I'm looking for here? The women are very full figured and the men are very full figured. everyone's just very over the top, what people may consider sexy, perhaps. And there's quite a bit of skin showing, like ankles and collarbones, that sort of thing. Sort of the idea that because a lot of opera has that sort of tragedy and over the topness with it, it's going over the top with how the characters look as well.
And as Amanda said, not sure what operas were around at the time, but they could definitely satirize. Instead of being like very heroic and epic, it's very slice of life and having to do more with being very operatic about you know, sweeping the crap off, like, from the streets, or doing housework in the daily. So I mean, like, just satirizing just how heroic
Content,
that can
yeah,
be.
yeah.
Right, and it's even to the point of this suggestion of like rich people playing at being simple peasants or poor city folk, something like the kind of Marie Antoinette situation where she had a whole kind of fake village made up where she could kind of play at being a peasant girl, and I think there's something in the decoration and art in these paintings that are that is kind of suggestive of that kind of pretense at simplicity.
David,
I think,
yeah.
yeah, I think there is a like a billboard that is still up from the Beggar's Opera that they leave up, just kind of as a memento of how they got their start. And that painted billboard is like there's like, the bigger tenors and sopranos that are painted onto it, but they're stationed in the middle is like a real skinny lead, and that's like the beggar. And that's like the satirical piece is like, can he even or she even sing like these tenors and sopranos that are on their wings?
I love it. That's great. I just want to find out what you're going to do once you're here, Miss Blakely, and I'm going to cut over to the other group. So, Miss Blakely, what are you going to do once you're actually there?
I'm probably going to try and talk to whoever happens to be in charge of the dancers and ask some questions.
Yeah, sounds good. All right, we'll come back to that. And in the chat, David, you said you want to do the Tower of London after all. Is that?
Yeah, I think so.
Let's do that then. So you arrive at the Tower of London. The Tower of London, of course, is not just a tower. It's like a little castle, right? Surrounded by, I think there's even a moat, if I'm not mistaken, in the middle of the city around it, and some other things. At this point in time, it was already kind of a tourist thing. Like it was a thing you would go to, to look at the crown jewels and stuff and take a tour of the place. Although in the tower that is on the, that's a little further, it's nearby, but it's not like right on the property. They would have still had prisoners there at that time. The Ravens, though, if that's what you're interested in, that would be that's the touristy bit, right? That's part of the touristy stuff. So when you arrive, there are people kind of filing in and out, day laborers and workers, like, enjoying their day off or whatever, spending their wages. And sort of mixed in with this like quite working class crowd, you see that distinct flash of sapphire blue there. And Theodora will get your attention and wave you over. Sure shot.
Okay. Man, I don't know if I care to talk to her, but I guess I will. She's here. I'll talk to her.
She says, Mr. Stevens, here to sample a little bit of English history.
No. What are you doing here, Pirate Queen? Here to spring out your crew from the tower?
Cowboys and pirates. I feel like there's a story in there somewhere in the future.
I think I'm wearing my new suit. Even I don't even think I'm in like my cowboy outfit, and it's the most boring pirate and cowboy story I've ever heard. And I'm like, even though it's perfectly comfortable, I'm like fidgeting because
right, yeah. She says, "Oh, you know, I just like to occasionally go through the city and be reminded of things. I don't expect you to really have much of a interest or grasp on the legends of our little kingdom, but there is one connected to this place that I think you might find very interesting. They say that if there are ever fewer than 6 ravens in the Tower of London, that the crown will fall. And I am led to believe that there are precisely 6 right now. What a shame it would be if someone were to do something to one of those ravens.
I think I have heard something about that. I didn't know it was 6. I just heard that they keep them here. They force them to stay.
Yes.
Seems like a distinctly British way of dealing with a problem. The most boring solution.
She says, well,
turn a pirate into whatever you are. Turn a cowboy into this. Clip the raven's wings so they stay.
She says, Mr. Stevens, one of those ravens' wings isn't exactly clipped, is it? One of those ravens gets about the city quite a bit. I have a feeling you're here to deal with that raven. Just remember, you might be condemning the Queen and her empire to destruction by doing so.
Yeah, because the birds decide.
Oh, Mr. Stevens, the world is very, very complicated. There are layers and layers which mortal eyes can't see. I have lately been more in touch with the part of this city that exists beyond the veil, she says as her sapphire glimmers. You have too. Don't deny it.
There's more to everybody than meets the eye.
Yes, I know. Enjoy yourself, Mr. Stevens. Mind the ravens. And she leaves.
And I'll turn to go towards the group near the tower of birds and people.
Yeah. Pope and Dr. Noble, you are at the synagogue. Rabbi Solomon will come and greet you. She says, "Ah, you got my letter. Splendid, splendid. Dr. Noble, so good to see you again. Pope, good to see you again." Rabbi Solomon, she's been hunting demons even since before she was a hunter at Hargrave House. And you can see that ring of power that she wears, that she uses to ensnare them. And in her retirement, she's a patron of the arts, and her day job is she's the rabbi of this synagogue. And she says, I have seen a fair share of hunters in my day. Hargrave House churns through them like this so-called sculptor is churning through my favorite performers. You take care now, Dr. Noble, Pope. I thought I was one of the lucky few able to peacefully retire, but I find I am as busy as ever.
That seems to be a story in itself, doesn't it, Doctor? I mean, Rabbi.
She might be a doctor. She might have some sort of
right.
yeah,
but
theological degree.
Yeah, she. I respect your survival. I mean, this is quite the dangerous business. I mean, you are lucky.
Well, don't envy me too much, Dr. Noble. The scars of my time at Hargrave House will be with me forever. I made many enemies in those years. Those enemies are very active in the city even now. They can't reach me in the way they'd like to, but they're always there, always trying. It'll happen to you as well, Dr. Noble. Some of these creatures will become just a little too fascinated, a little too interested. And when you least expect it, they will strike.
Do you suspect one of these enemies of being the sculptor?
The sculptor is an interesting case. I believe that the sculptor is a man, and I believe he is mundane in the sense that he is not a creature from beyond the veil. He's not a creature from the supernatural world, and therefore would mostly be of little interest to me, my concern being demons. But, well, he's attacking my favorite pastime. These boys at the ballet. I mean, imagine such beautiful creatures wanting to harm them. And then, well, I'll never be able to forget the sight of poor Massimo praying at my synagogue. The floor is still a little damp from where the ice melted.
Rabbi, just from where they were found, from how they were molded, for want of a better word, is there any connection that you can see for why this is happening, and especially now? This is all recent.
She says, well, and here I'm going to give you a clue for free since she's a former colleague.
Okay.
She says, all I know, a thing that I think is very important to this case, is there has been a lot of talk about a, quote, final performance on Christmas Eve at St. Paul's. The dancers whisper about it, though none of them will speak openly about what it means. I think that whatever this final performance is, the sculptor is connected to it. That's your clue.
You mentioned ice. You mentioned ice too. There was ice on the body of this boy found in your
all of these bodies
temple
were encased in it that have been found around the city. That in itself is an incredible clue. Who would have the capability to do such a thing?
And yet you suspect there's no supernatural involvement. This seems quite a remarkable thing. How would one encase a body in ice otherwise?
Dr. Noble will sort of wave a little in the air, and then just to get Pope's attention and almost say to herself as well, it's like, there are chemicals that will create such an effect.
She says, well, you are right, Pope, that the particular manner with which the bodies were found would seem to indicate some sort of supernatural cause. I believe the killer is a normal man, only because there is a certain eroticism, a certain fetishism to these murders that I think can only exist in the mind of a man. It's the sort of thing that the demonic realms, the supernatural realms, they don't care for such things. Not in this way. There's a baseness, a base carnality to it, if that makes sense. But I could be wrong. Certainly the three of us have all seen things, I'm sure, that would indicate it could very well be some sort of terrible demon. In which case, my ring stands ready.
Hopefully it doesn't come to that. You have your speciality, and I believe so do we. So it's in our best interest to find this person as soon as possible.
Very good. We'll cut that scene. Miss Blakely, you are joined presently by the director of the ballet, Zelia. Oh, I'm not sure how to pronounce the surname. We're going to say Gagnon. I shall type it for you.
Yeah, I know people with that last name, and that's how it's pronounced.
So the Society of the Royal Ballet, of course, is notoriously exclusive and unwelcoming to the prying eyes of outsiders. And the director will certainly inform and verify this particular position. She is a very, very I would say a tightly wound woman, we shall say. And she comes to you, her hair is pulled back tight, her bodice is tight, and her lips are pursed tightly. And she says, yes, were you here to inquire about something in particular? Are you a little paramour of one of the dancers?
The former, actually. My name is Miss Blakely, and I am of Hargrave House. I don't know if you've heard of us or not. We are looking into the very unfortunate
Miss Blakely,
circumstances
we
that...
are not currently seeking new people to join the company. I'm very sorry. I admire your direct approach, however. I'm very, very busy, so we have a lot going
As am
on, as you must
I.
know.
I am busy myself, so let's cut to the chase, shall we? I would like to know more information about these dancers that met their untimely demise.
Ah, so you work for one of the papers. Very, very good.
I do not. I work for an investigative troupe, so to speak.
Is this connected to Scotland Yard? We've already talked to countless numbers of inspectors.
We are affiliated in some ways with Scotland Yard, but we operate on our own. We have capabilities and, well, I can't think of the word I'm trying to look for here.
Resources?
Thank you. Resources that the yard does not have and can't use for, well, reasons.
Miss Blakely, I, of course, am very, very sad about what happened to these boys. It is always very, very unfortunate when you lose a member of the company, and I feel very put out by the rather dramatic nature in which these young men lost their lives. But the show must go on, Miss Blakely. There is always an eager, new, beautiful young thing ready to take center stage. This matter, in the interest of the show going on, this matter must be put behind us. And whatever organization you work for, I would request that you, well, keep your nose out of it.
You quite misunderstand me. Miss Gagnon, is it?
Yes, I'm too busy to engage in personal conquest.
I understand that completely. But you do misunderstand me. I also believe that the show must go on. As a frequent patron of the arts, I would also like this to be put aside so that the dancing and the ballet can continue. There's going to be a great many talents, I am sure, under your tutelage here. Now, I am very happy to become a patron of the Royal Ballet myself, you see, in order to help continue the wonderful work that you do here. However, in order for me to do so, I will have to know that this sort of thing will not continue on. It would besmirch my name, you see.
Take the information move with presence, possibly composure.
Sorry, I don't know where I put my dice. Goodness. Okay, well, I've got backup dice. It'll be fine. They're just hard to read. dice. Where did I put them? Oh, backup dice. I hate you. Okay. With composure.
Yeah, I think it's probably composure considering the sort of hostile nature of the, of the
Okay,
transaction
that's a 7.
here. Okay.
Oh, there. They're on my sewing desk.
She gets very close to you and she's circling you. You imagine that this is how she probably circles the studio when she's enforcing discipline on the dancers. She's sort of like, you even notice she has like she's produced a little like switch in her hand that she's sort of like slapping on her palm. And she says, you know, you could have been like us if you'd been brought up young enough, Miss Blakely. But I'm afraid you are too coarse, ultimately, to ever join our ranks. Too full of yourself. In order to become a dancer, the ego must be broken down completely. You must give in to the music, give in to the movement, give in to the form. What a shame, because you are quite beautiful. But just a little too coarse. I'm giving you a condition, a little too coarse. She says, but I will help you. I believe what you say. She says, there have been a fair number of strange things going on, both at the studio and here at the theater, preceding the murders and after. One such thing, well, I would actually like to show you some of these things. Maybe you could come
Please
by
do.
in the evening sometime, and I will show them to you. But for now, know this. On the night before the first murder, we found an Arctic fox roaming around the theater, starving. We don't know where it came from. Why would there be such a creature here in London? Nestled as it was amidst the nutcracker scenery, as if it was a creature that belonged. The dancers adopted it. It's still here, in fact. But I do wonder if the creature was connected to this sculptor.
That is quite the mystery, is it not? An
There's so
Arctic
many
fox
more.
wandering around London. Well, Miss Gagnon, I do believe I understand this language that you speak. I may not be a dancer, nor have I ever really been interested in that sort of discipline myself. But I have been known to encourage discipline in others. So I do understand this language that you speak, and I'd be happy to join you this evening for you to show me some of what you speak. And I do appreciate the information you have to offer.
She raises an eyebrow and smiles. Sure shot. This will be our last day face scene. Sure shot. You are in the little, I think they keep I don't know what they really do, but like, we'll just say they keep the ravens in like a sort of like a loft rookery kind of area. And I think it's generally not open to the public where they keep the ravens from day to day. But if you want to try to sneak up there, I think that's fine. What do you do?
Yeah. Is it like a touristy, like it's not open to the public, so it's not like a touristy thing to just like feed them breadcrumbs?
No, but no, they bring them down whenever they're going to do that. This is where they just like stay, like, you know, like when they're just like, like
Oh.
when there's no one around. Yeah.
I'm waiting for one of those opportunities where they bring them down, and I'm gonna be tossing breadcrumbs, and I'm gonna see if there's a certain child that also seems interested in the breadcrumbs.
Very good. I like that. That's good. Yeah. I think that's good. I think actually they do bring the ravens down. There are only 5 of them. And there's a lot of other people milling around. And I think the person, this like sort of like tower guard sort of like person who's in this like sort of black and red, like kind of, puffy sleeve getup, is saying, yeah, Beefeater, he's saying like, they say if there's ever less than 6 ravens in the Tower of London, that the crown will fall. We have to hurry up and find a new one to replace our 6th raven, or poor Queen Victoria. She may find herself in some trouble. And there's a laughter, kind of breaking out or whatever. But there is a 6th raven. How do you suss out which one is Patrick of these people in the scene?
So I'm dressed fancy to blend in. I have one of those top hats, and I've got it off, and I'm holding it, and I've put inside of it a like bag of breadcrumbs, and I'm scattering them, and I'm looking to see if there's a child that seems interested in acting like a bird and getting breadcrumbs.
Yeah, I mean, Patrick will be an adult at this point, but
he is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Roll with, young, but roll the. I think this is more the day move. It's not really the information move. It's a day move if you're trying to like lure him out with reason. I think it's what this is. Yeah, the way you're doing it, and yeah.
Let's see, what's my reason score? Is that a 1? Yes. 9.
It's like that moment in the movie where like the crowd pulls away and everything in the background goes in soft focus, and it's just you facing Patrick Fig, right? He is a young man, probably like 19 or so, and he is he does smell quite bad, and he's dressed in quite tatty clothes, and he bends down and picks up one of the chunks of bread and carefully puts it in his mouth and says, you're here to kill me like you killed my brother.
And I reach my hand back into the hat, and you hear the distinct click of the hammer of a gun. Not if I don't have to, but I will.
What will you do with me if I leave this place?
So I've got a question. Can it be considered capturing him if I like fix him to this place?
Oh, like you keep him here permanently?
Yeah.
So he's not like a danger, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, Scotland Yard will want to know where he's at, right? That's part of the thing, and they'll just keep looking if you don't tell them.
I mean, I'll tell Scotland Yard that he's dead if I can fix him to this place.
Oh, so how are you gonna try to do it?
I'm gonna like tell him. I'm gonna tell him like that's what's gonna happen, and I'm going to like reveal to him like the dogs to the rat. Like if he doesn't do what I say, I'll hunt him. And I'm not a normal hunter.
He says, but won't Scotland Yard keep looking for me? How will you convince them that I'm dead, that I'm no longer a threat?
You let me deal with that. Does he have anything that's particularly like iconic of him? Anything that I could be like, this thing I got from the bottom of the river, like he's dead?
I don't know, but Patrick Fig was always the least dangerous of the figs. So it might be enough just to say what happened, and maybe they'll just believe you. Be like, okay, he fell off the tower or something, or fell out a window or something, right? Or
Right.
because then a body would turn up, he ran away or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I just tell them they could dredge the river if they want. They probably won't ever find him, but he fell in the river. He never came back up.
And so I just stay here. But
That's right.
oh, so I can't go out in the city?
No.
Will you at least come to visit from time to time?
I'll make sure you're looked after. And instead of pulling the gun out, I pull out some more breadcrumbs.
For your complication, I'm going to give you a condition connected to that. Basically,
Okay.
It's going to be your Patrick Figs. We'll just say the rookery. That's what we'll call it. Except in this case, it's a literal rookery, not a slum neighborhood rookery. He says, okay, I'll stay here. I think this is where I'm meant to be.
And I look at the beefeater and I'm like, you got yourself a sixth raven right here.
And they all just look at you confused, like, what are you talking about?
And then I like take out the breadcrumb bag and I hand it to him. And like, if he starts eating it, maybe they'll kind of get the joke, or even realize like he's been there for a really long time and be like, oh yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to buy that, but I think he'll just stay in the vicinity of the Tower of London, and that will satisfy. As long as he's not roaming around the city, I think that's the important part here, right? So, but as you leave, Theodora will see you, and she'll say, I sure hope nothing happens to that poor, benighted boy.
Oh, I don't think anything will happen to him. And I'm still holding my hat, and I pull the gun out and like let it kind of linger towards her for a moment before I hide it in my clothes again and put my hat back on.
She says, oh, you Americans. And she turns and goes back to her carriage or whatever's waiting for her. And so that will wrap up our phase. Let's take a 5-minute break. We'll come back into the dusk phase. The dusk phase. I feel like we have a lot to do, but we're going to do it. Playbook moves. All right, Mr. Stevens, let's see how the quickening goes for you. You might get fucked by it too, because you have 3 conditions already.
Rolling plus either one is +1, so that's 12.
Nice. You get your little bonus, right? On a 12.
Yeah.
Nice, very good. Factotum, you have day work. Which of the options do you wish for day work?
Yeah, I just took that move as an advancement. I was curious to learn something interesting about an active threat. So the question I was going to ask, I don't know, I was trying to come up with something, but I'm curious to know this Arctic fox that was at the theater. Would I be able to find out or stumble across something about, I know that owning exotic pets was something of a fashion among the nobility in Victorian London. Is there anyone who is known to have an Arctic fox in their possession, or an animal dealer or something like that may
I will
be able
answer your question completely. I'm not going to give you a clue, but I will answer it completely and truthfully. Brathwaite Hall has a menagerie. So that's your answer.
Of course.
It's probably a connection. Theodora's hands are in everything on this. Good. Let's carry on. Resurrectionists. What do you want from the list there, Dr. Noble?
Oh, I like to stick to the tried and true. Acquire a body part. Not much now. And no blowback, please. I'm sure we're going to have a lot of problems later on.
Sounds good. For unquenchable thirst, you can go ahead and just straight away take care of a little too coarse if you wish, Miss Blakely. Just tell me, how is your supernatural beauty counteracting this?
I think upon hearing this from somebody, it kind of Blakely takes it to heart a little bit. Like, of course, that's not attractive. That's like sandpaper. And of course, she applies it, to a physicality thing in her mind. And I think her supernatural beauty just sort of accommodates it by making her flawless skin look even more soft and dewy, and ensuring that, her eyes even look softer, and when she smiles, it seems kinder, that sort of thing.
How does the you have to scar the reflection. How does the cathedral absorb this coarseness?
Just gonna scroll down and see what I've done to my cathedral already. Ah, yes, the last thing that happened was the window situation. I think the coarseness that was once sort of part of Blakely has now being represented in the carpets. The carpets and rugs that were in the cathedral are looking ragged, and the threads are coming out and getting faded from wear and tear, not being replaced like they should.
I love it. Thank you. And let's talk about Hargrave House. Today we're going to be painting the scene in the dining room. You don't often take meals together, especially in the evening, but tonight is an exception. What's on the menu? Perhaps even Rabbi Solomon is there. Maybe that's why. Which means it has to be kosher. No.
Yeah, something kosher.
It's definitely not going to tie into fixed peaks then. Yeah.
No, it doesn't have to be kosher. It's all, there could be something kosher for her there, but yeah.
Roasted asparagus in a wine cream sauce with a very fancy cheese. I don't eat cheese. I don't know what a fancy cheese is, but I assume that there are expensive ones out there, and this one has it.
I feel like there's a fish of some sort. It's like freshly poached, and lemon and white wine. Perfectly paired, of course, because when there's a guest and one who has been lucky enough to retire, I'm sure that there's like cause for celebration.
I see some menu researching going on.
Oh yeah, I found a good one here. A heron pudding. So the heron has its bones broken and is filled with a fishy sauce and is then baked in the oven. So it's almost like a roast turkey or a roast chicken, I guess, but
it's so
some kind of fishy. Yeah.
It's very, very Victorian. Yeah.
Keeping with our sea kind of seafood theme, fish theme, I think that there beforehand there's like an amuse-bouche tuna tartare spread over like wafer thin bread.
Very nice. What's everyone doing tonight? Sure shot.
I think that I want to try and resolve this pig situation by laying a trap.
Yeah. What specifically are you going to do?
I think that there was supposed to be an appointment with Rabbi Solomon in the nighttime, because that's when La Hortensia is doing her meetings, is in the nighttime. So maybe this dinner is part of establishing that, like, this is how we're going to go take care of this.
Oh, I see. So Rabbi Solomon's going with you to catch La Hortensia.
Rabbi Solomon's in on it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Okay, good. So I think maybe you'll just be returning to the synagogue, essentially, right? To catch her there. Okay, sounds good.
Right. I'll lie in ambush and Rabbi Solomon will be there as if the meeting is on.
Yeah, I love it. Ms. Blickley, what are you doing tonight?
I'm going to go back to the Covent Gardens and talk again with Miss Gagnon. I wonder if the rabbi is a person who used to work at Hargrave House, then she probably knows Blakely.
Yeah, maybe. That's intriguing.
Just something I just thought.
Oh no! Oh, and the rabbi knows all of you because she's a contemporary. She's just
okay.
not working there
So
now. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. But you're going to the theater, though.
I am. Yes.
Great, Dr. Noble. What are you doing tonight?
I'd like to go with, excuse me, I'd like to go with Sure Shot. Yeah. Dr. Noble's going to go and see if she can be kind of like a a backup, because we don't know how dangerous she really is.
Yeah, that's good.
Especially like, if this, she's like hand in glove with her husband, basically. Just to make sure that, like, I'm on the scene to patch anybody up if that need be, and also to see about helping out with that to just get it done.
No, I love it. Pope, what are you gonna do?
I think definitely keep Dr. Noble in sight. So I'll go along. I was wondering if it might be possible to reach out to some of the Hargrave House informals first to ask for any information about the activities of the Sculptor and the places where the bodies were found, or if anyone may have seen the bodies being moved, because it seems like there's a suggestion that the bodies were not prepared in the place where they were found.
That's great. Roll. Well, who among your crew here are you trying?
Yeah, I think let's get good old Kip Longfellow on the case again. He
sounds good.
Has proved useful in the past.
Roll presence.
Okay, let me just check what my presence is. Okay. I rolled a 9, including my +1 for presence.
Oh, good. I love it. So on a 7 to 9, as above, but they take a while to show up, or they want something in exchange for their help. My choice. Okay, I know what to do there. I'll take care of it. And good. All right. So let's say you put out word for all that to happen. What would you otherwise be doing tonight?
I will be accompanying Dr. Noble to ensure that she's safe.
Sounds good. Janice mask prompts. I know we have one from Pope, I believe. Are there any others?
I think we have the mask of
you all
perfection.
have the mask of perfection. That's right. Yeah. If you want to do that now, you can do it now, or you can wait till the dawn, whenever we get to the dawn.
Is there a prompt for that somewhere on the?
It's not written down, but I'll tell you what it is. It is, you have to describe the last time you danced and what was perfect about the moment. This is the mask of perfection.
I I cheated and I was looking at the threat and I
Yeah.
popped it into the I popped
Okay.
the information into the Mask
Yeah,
of
it
Perfection.
should be written there anyway. I just didn't do it yet.
Yeah.
Does anybody want to do this yet? Or
I can do this one now and get it out of the way. Get it out of the way, it sounds terrible. But I think we're going to flash back actually to when Miss Blakely got that music box with the one that was inscribed "The Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairy," and the tune is not recognizable and it causes strange dreams. And I think there's just a shot of her sitting on her bed in her night clothes, and she's opening up the music box and listening to the music and kind of swaying along to it. So this music box causes strange dreams and delirious visions. And I think she kind of stands up in almost a trance and starts dancing and spinning about her room in her bare feet, sort of dreaming that she is dancing in clouds and colors. I was wondering if I could also do a consult with Greco, the second sighted boy,
oh,
in a flashback mask.
I like it. We can make it part of the night phase. Yeah, we can do that.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think she's dancing around and everything just feels light. There's nothing else but the music and the dancing. There's nothing else. There's no other pressures in her life except for that. So it feels wonderful and light.
I like it. That's great. Any other
I'd like
dances?
to.
Yeah, go ahead.
So this would be kind of like in the interim, getting ready for what we're planning on doing after the dinner. Dr. Noble is in the lab, like kind of just doing her usual ablutions, even though it's not even like, getting really fancy or anything. But she turns to the child of what is there, and then she starts to reminisce a little bit, and then that music of the past is sort of like wavering in her head as well, as she's remembering a time that she was dancing with Michael for a ball that her parents had held, and then she was describing it to the child and saying, "This is how your father and I danced. This is how we fell in love together. And I remember it so clearly because we were discussing our future. We were discussing our future, possibly with you." And then she's just, again, humming to herself, remembering the songs that were played, and almost recreating the dance by herself next to the child as she's like relating this to the child. So
Great scene. I love it. Sure shot or Pope, do you want to do yours or you want to wait?
Yeah, I think Pope reminisces about this very same ball where he was in attendance. He was in the employment of Dr. Noble's father at the time, but and this was a happier time for the family, obviously, before tragedy struck, and he was in attendance at the ball, not dancing, but afterward he was below stairs and the music was still audible, and he danced with the old cook around the kitchen as they were clearing the remains of some dishes that had been brought down from the ball upstairs. And the music was audible, and they were laughing and dancing around the kitchen. And that's the last time Pope danced.
I love it. Sure shot, do you want to do yours or you want to wait?
Yeah, I think that the last time Sure Shot danced was close to another mask scene where we saw him chasing after a young lady kind of flirtishly through the moonlight. This is earlier in that same evening. He's dancing with her in America. He's young, and it's just kind of normal, lively music. And the perfect thing is his partner. Like, this is a magical moment for a young Chance Stevens. And he thinks like this is he thinks he's falling in love, and like this is a beautiful moment for him, before later in the night chasing through the moonlight and then disappearing to another place and coming back with a strange condition.
Thank you. Are there any other Janus masks that are open right now? I guess not. Yeah. Okay, the unseen. The unseen for tonight is A Night at the Grand Guignol, The Baker's Son, keeping with our theatrical themes of the day. This is the very first entry. Every class of people in London is represented in the audience at the Theatre Grand Guignol. They have come to watch the newest production, The Baker's Son, a story filled with romance, heartbreak, and bucketfuls of blood. I should note here that the Grand Guignol is actually a Paris thing, not a London thing, but we are basing our game off of Penny Dreadful, and Penny Dreadful has the Grand Guignol. So everyone does the first bit. And then Rob has the second prompt. David has the third prompt. And Matt has the fourth prompt. For The Baker's Son. Let's just take a very fast break to give you a moment to think about this stuff, like 3 minutes tops. We'll come back and we'll do a night phase, probably a fast night phase, but we'll get it done. Just take like 3 minutes. Everyone, as the limelights pop to life and the crimson curtain is raised, what do we see as our eyes scan the stage that tells us this is the story of a humble baker's son?
I think we see the character himself introduced, the raggedy baker's son, who is in his opening scene, he's asleep on top of the stove where the bread is baked. And a sort of, just a blanket is laid on top of the stove to keep warm.
It's a small set because it's a very small room, and that's all they can afford. It's got enough room for shelving. It has obviously the room for the stove that they're able to bake with, and not much else.
The set's not very brightly lit, generally speaking, in like horrific kind of shows like this, to depict very fancy places. You would have many lights on the stage, different colors of lights. And this is, well, a poor, humble baker's family. So it's very darkly lit with only a few candles.
The backdrop is painted to look like it is wooden walls, not like plastered or anything. And fixed to the wooden walls but painted on are like baker implements, even though bakers don't like hang their implements like that, but that's how they convey to the audience immediately.
Yeah, it's a baker's peel, all that stuff, right? Good, love it. Pope, you have put out word for Kip and to give Kip his instructions for the evening, and I think you are sort of tidying up near the front of Hargrave House when you hear the distinct clop, 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 clop of a carriage being pulled by multiple horses, and a few moments later you hear Kip hollering out in the square, "Thanks for the ride, ma'am." And he says, "But I guess I'm gonna have to go around back. Mr. Pope doesn't like it when I come in through the front, or try to at least." Pope, what do you do?
I think I peeked through the curtains to see if I can see who it was
It's
who got a
Theodore's
ride from.
carriage. It's
I figured
Theodore's
as much. Yeah.
Yep. The sapphire strikes again. What do you do then?
I'll go to the kitchen door to let Kip in.
You do let him, make him walk around to the back.
Oh yeah. I have to walk around
the back, exactly, right. Yeah. Good. He comes in, he says, Mr. Pope, word has reached me that you have a job for me.
Yes, why don't you sit down, Kip? I have a little leftover heron pudding you might help me dispose of.
A hare? It's a hare in a pudding?
Heron.
Heron.
Kip.
What's a heron?
Heron. It's a type of bird, boy.
Oh, interesting.
Not a
So it's like a Christmas goose.
I suppose you could say that, but in the form of a pudding.
He sits up at the counter and he's ready to tuck in. He's excited. He says,
how did you come to be in Lady Brathwaite's carriage, might I ask?
Oh, that lady, she was real nice. She just pulled up and she knew where I was going, and she said that she'd be happy to give me a ride.
You ought to know, Kip, that I think you should be very careful around that particular lady.
He's like, no, she seemed nice enough. She invited me out to her house in the country. Can you imagine someone like me out in a house in the country? She said her daughter likes to hunt. Can you imagine me out on a hunt?
I can imagine a great many things that may come to mind in such a thing. Kip, I can only say again, this woman, kind and pleasant as she may seem, is extremely dangerous. I don't wish you to fall foul of her schemes.
He's like, well, would be nice to go spend a day at a fancy home of a fancy lady on a hunt. I wonder what sort of things they hunt out there.
I have a nasty suspicion, young Kip, that you might find yourself being chased by the hounds on that particular estate.
His face goes white, and we don't need to role play, but what do you need him to go do specifically tonight?
I'm really interested to know if he has any information about somebody moving what could be a body around in the locations where the dead ballet dancers were found.
Okay, he'll go keep his eye out. Let's swing over to pretty much everyone is ultimately going to Rabbi Solomon's except for Miss Blakely, right? Okay, so I'm going to spend a little more time in Hargrave House then. Dr. Noble, you are going back into your room when you realize there's someone in your room. Sitting.
She mutters under her breath, again?
Sitting in your chair, their face occluded by shadow, but there is just enough moonlight to reveal this person's large, toothy mouth clenched tight, teeth clenched tight, not moving. What do you do?
So I only see the mouth of this person sitting in the
chair?
No,
they're all there, but their teeth stand out and glow in the darkness.
I'd almost swear it was a Cheshire cat. Who is that?
This person stands up and, speaking through clenched teeth, says, I remember the first time I saw the ballet. It was magic. To see the human form frozen in air sparked a warmth in me the frigid rains of London never could extinguish. I snuck in often posing as a lady's child and usher, part of the cast. When I was finally caught, they offered me an audition, given how well I could adapt. They said with a bit of training, I would never be caught again. Those words may be the only truths that haven't melted with time.
Are you the sculptor?
Meanwhile, Sure Shot, what preparations are you making for La Hortensia?
I'm changing out of my fancy clothes and getting into my normal clothes, and just like grabbing various weapons and things like that. I look at the harpoon thing. I think it's unclear if I take it.
Very good. Miss Blakely. You arrive at Covent Garden. No performances for obvious reasons tonight. But you find that you are able to walk right in. And what you see is very intriguing indeed. There is the stage. It is lit with a single spotlight. There's a dancer leaping through the air. They appear almost weightless. They do it so effortlessly. And then you hear the sound of a sound you're familiar with, a sound of a gathering, of a party, of people making merry, coming from backstage. What do you do?
Well, for one, I'm kind of unimpressed that there's nobody here to take my coat. I am an invited guest and I should be treated better, but that's okay. Um, I think I'm going to watch the dancer for a moment or two and then find my way backstage to find out where Miss Gagnon is probably hosting this party.
Indeed, indeed. Let's go back to the Grand Guignol. Rob, describe Act 1, in which the baker's son, a young man named Daniel, falls in love with a woman, Dahlia, who he cannot have.
I think the Baker's family are delighted to be invited to cater an event for a fancy family about town. And Dahlia is the daughter of the family who attends along with her mother, comes to the baker's shop to make the arrangements for the occasion. And while his parents are talking to Dahlia's mother, the two younger people are able to catch a moment's conversation between them, and he is besotted with her, but of course she is far above his station that he cannot dream of anything ever coming of it. But he hopes that when the occasion actually comes, he may have a chance to dance with her in secret, and he sings an aria about this dream that he's having.
Pope, Sure Shot. Rabbi Solomon has asked you to go ahead with her for safety reasons, given the circumstances, to make the space ready, and Dr. Noble will join you later. As ever, the night phase belongs to me. And so you are there, awaiting Dr. Noble's arrival. It's getting to be pretty late. The appointment with Hortensia is almost here. Dr. Noble is not here yet, and you are at the synagogue. Let's just have that moment with the two of you there at the synagogue.
I think there's a loft area that looks down on where the congregation would gather. It is unfinished. It has wooden walls. It's not plastered like the rest of the place. And I am getting implements ready, like on the walls there, just leaned up here and there, so that they're handy at a moment's notice as we like talk or whatever we do. I think the rabbi is down there, but I'm up here in the darkness preparing.
How do you propose we handle this, Mr. Stevens?
How many exits this place got? Can't be too many. It's got a little wall around it, right, on the outside. So 2, hopefully, out of the compound, but several out of the building.
I believe you're right, yes. Where would you like me to ready myself?
We needed one more, but I can cover all the exits out of this main room. But if you can get the one in the back, just be careful not to be seen as they come in.
I'm on it. I'll stay out of sight.
Dr. Noble, this clenched teeth individual says, I well understand the work you are doing, Dr. Noble, and I have brought you a gift.
Indeed. What is this gift that you bring? And why would you help me?
Your creation will need power. Life force. I give it to you because we are the same, you and I.
You have killed. I merely collect.
He takes his gift out of his coat and sets it on the table in front of you. It's a jar of preserved testicles. Power, energy, life force.
Is this what gives you power?
It is what will give your child power. The ultimate sculpture, is it not?
Do you call yourself an artiste, then?
I am an appreciator of the human form, and I like to explore it in whatever way presents itself to me.
But why kill them? Why not appreciate them from afar?
Because sometimes they don't like to do what I want them to do. Death is so much easier. Pose them forever in my mind. Do you accept this gift, Dr. Noble?
She straightens up and she looks at the figure. And if I do not?
You see, he has in his hand an implement of some sort. I will be very offended.
May I ask a question?
We'll cut away from now. Miss Blakely.
Yeah.
We're already kind of like getting pretty close to lines and veils and some of the stuff, but it's okay. Just pull me back if I'm going too far. But Miss Blakely, you go into this salon that's been arranged in the theater, and you find that its hostess is Theodora. She is sitting with furniture made of dancers, their bodies arranged like tables and chairs. Some of them are holding serving pieces with food and drink. They're all quite naked, but their bodies have been dusted with sapphire blue powder. And she says, Miss Blakely.
Well, this is quite the charming scene to walk in on.
She
You look
says,
beautiful as always, my dear.
thank you. I thought you might like to play a game with me tonight, Miss Blakely.
Well, you do know I like games.
Have a seat.
And Miss Blakely looks around and finds the most comfortable looking person to sit on.
Indeed.
Um,
And we cut back over to the Theater Grand Guignol. David, describe Act 2, in which Daniel impotently fights back against the forces that prevent him from being with Dahlia.
So I think that this show has some like occasional musical numbers to montage on, and that's part of what happens in Act 2. Is there are scenes that try to reoccur the party scene that was in Act 1, where he wanted to dance. And in these montage scenes, he comes walking out towards the young lady as if about to dance, and then some side character comes out of the wings and walks past her and gets into his face and pushes him back into the part of the stage that is the bakery. And they grab some baking implement and put it into his hands and tell him in song like the order that they have for him. And as he's making it and growing more and more frustrated, and this kind of scene keeps recurring throughout the song, it finally gets to the point where by like the last two verses, he strikes down the people with the implement that they hand him, and then they get dragged into the great big oven, and then like fresh baked things come out.
I love it. Dr. Noble never shows up. Pope, sure shot. La Hortensia does. You got a 12 plus on this, so this won't be difficult to do, but I am just curious, like, what do you do? I mean, what's the sort of like, what's just describe the scene here, sure shot, what's happening?
Well, I'm fine taking her in and not just like killing her. Rob, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. We don't know if she's really implicated to the degree that some of the other members of the family were, so it would make sense to just...
Yeah, so I think we wait a while like she's having her meeting, and that might even like reveal something about her character and what she's gotten up to. And then we try and kind of step out and take her in quietly.
Yeah, that sounds great to me. You'll be able to do it. Describe it.
So does she reveal anything to the rabbi in their conversation before we step out?
Oh, interesting. You want to know like what? Oh, yeah, interesting. Honestly, she's just really upset about everything that's happening. Her one son is dead. Her husband is arrested. Her other son refuses to leave his nest. She feels like she's sacrificed so much to keep her family together, and she wasn't able to do it in the end. And Rabbi Solomon is counseling her, trying to explain to her that, well, in the next life, they can be together again. And yeah, that's it.
Yeah, so I think at an opportune time, like Pope and Sure Shot have arranged that Pope will come out and inform her that she is captured, and they're up there in the in the loft, like she's covered. She shouldn't try and make any sudden moves or whatever. We'll just bring her to Hargrave House quietly if that's how it goes.
Yeah, I think Pope will step out and do that, but he's extremely concerned and distracted by the fact that Dr. Noble has not arrived, and he is all urgency to get back to Hargrave House.
Very good, very good. I have a question posed to the group related to lines and veils. If everybody will just answer it, that'd be great. Yeah, I love it. That's great. So you're gonna take her to Hargrave House, and then what? Are you gonna eventually take her to Scotland Yard?
I think so. If we can't come up with a way to keep her captured safely ourselves.
Or really to, I guess, really to interrogate her before handing her over.
To learn what exactly? What is she supposed to tell you? That's what it's kind of an out of character thing. I'm kind of curious what you're trying to get out of her at this point.
I'm just referring back to the remaining questions on the.
Well, you cut off there, Pope. There are no more questions on that. This is the last one. I mean, there's no more figs pigs once she's brought in.
Yeah, in that case, I guess we are just handing her over.
Yeah, I mean, I think we want to question her about what's going on and what happened, and all of that. Because if it's becomes apparent that she's no threat, I think we can situate her in a captive state like we did with Patrick, and not have to turn her over to Scotland Yard. But if it's oh man, this is all kinds of messed up stuff, maybe we do need to turn her over to Scotland Yard.
Yeah, or I was wondering if we even if we find out that she's not super involved, we may even let her go, we did with the
my captive state would maybe be she's in Rabbi Solomon's care and keeping, and needs to stay around here.
Right.
Good. We'll wrap up the night phase with that scene then, you sort of maybe deciding what to do with her as you talk to her. I think that's good. I just want to kind of suss out what's going to happen with her. Let's press forward to this scene with, I've lost track. Are we at Dr. Noble now? Dr. Noble.
She had a question.
Yeah, he says, ask it, Doctor.
Does the sculpting end?
No, it just begins.
Is this revenge?
Accept my gift, and you will be a part of the dance, Dr. Noble.
I'm going to be complicit in your artistry. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, yes.
I'm trying to bring life. I'm trying to bring forth life and creativity What you are doing is bringing death. I don't see how your power, your gift, is going to enhance what's already there.
He stands up, and you see he has in his hand, it's almost like a it's like a halberd, like a fancy, like long weapon, right? And he says, "Very well." And it sounds like, Pope, you want to My Person Friday this and be on the scene.
I think so, yes. If there's any indication that Dr. Noble's in danger.
We shall pick up with that in a bit. Let's go back to Miss Blakely. Miss Blakely, you'll notice now that there is a distinct rustling and of movement beneath Theodora's sapphire blue gown. And emerging from there is the police officer who is your worshiper. And he turns and sees you. He's in a state of undress, we shall say. And he says, my lady, I didn't know you were going to be here. And Theodora puts her hands on his shoulders and says, she didn't know we were going to be here. The question is, what is she going to do with this act of betrayal?
Well then, Constable, I couldn't expect you would know I would be here because you don't follow my movements, as you should not. I don't follow yours because, frankly, I don't care. You can do what you want, when you want. Why you're doing it here with her, well, that's sort of beyond me. Brathwaite, what game are you trying to play here?
I just want to test the boundaries with Hargrave House, Miss Blakely. I'm curious just how far you will go.
How far we will go for what?
To protect your own interests, to protect the crown.
Well, I don't know about the rest of Hargrave House, but I don't really care about the crown. I do care about my own interests. I do care about my followers. Now, Constable, I don't particularly care who you get up to this sort of thing with. However, should it be somebody like her in the future, I would like you to reconsider. Now, if you would please go. I did see Miss Gagnon with a switch somewhere. Would you please go find that for me?
We cut away to the theater Grand Guignol. Act 3, Mads, in which Daniel engages in a desperate action to get what he wants. The final moment just before the curtain falls should be very bloody.
The lights will gleam red or redder as he finishes in Act 2 and he's pulling out the loaves, and we know how fresh that is. He hatches a grand plan to get everyone out of the way. He has taken care of one rival. Now he will take care of them all. He talks about how he is invited to bake for, or his father is able to bake for the next gala that Dahlia and her family are supposed to attend. And he decides he is going to seek out someone to be able to give him the power to wipe out his rivals. And he holds up what essentially looks like rat poison and starts putting it in the loaves, into the dough that his father is baking for this gala. And then at the end, he is helping to deliver these. And for those that are partaking of the poisoned bread and not falling in their tracks, he is dispatching with a very large cooking knife, or forget, there's a baker's implement that's essentially like a chopper of some sort, and then presenting like this the pieces, the bloody pieces, to his supposed love, and being very obsessed looking and very grand about his gesture to her. At the climax, he is presenting this large platter, loaves, pieces, blood as sauce, to Dahlia as a sign of his love.
Sure shot. Pope had to go. And so it's just you and Lartensia. You have her perhaps, you know, she's going peacefully. You know, maybe you have your gun, like, you know, at her back or something, or just to where she knows it's there, right? And she says, you know, I have no intention of continuing my husband's work. The pies were just his way of dealing with what happened to me and my sons, and what my sons had to do to live.
And what happened?
You have not heard the story? When they were little boys, we were trapped in a cave-in. That's when we lived, near the mines. And they were going to starve, and I wouldn't let them. That's why, and she looks, you see her missing arm. I wouldn't let them starve. They both reacted to that in their own way. And my husband reacted to that in his own way. And I have just been trying to find meaning ever since.
Can you be trusted to stay where you're put?
Where would you intend to put me?
I think we're still in the synagogue. I gesture around. I've discussed arrangements with the rabbi.
If I can be allowed to see my Patrick from time to time, yes. But what will you tell Scotland Yard?
That's a bit of difficulty, isn't it?
Yes, I suppose. But no, I am no danger to London, and I will endeavor not to lay any more traps for you or your colleagues.
Trying to think. There's a grim way this could go, where I need something to show Scotland Yard, some proof that she died in some horrible accident.
She says, perhaps Yeah, she's got to give you something, doesn't she? If that's the story you're going to come up with. Maybe we'll just keep it off screen for now. Back at Hargrave House, threat resolved. Back at Hargrave House, the sculptor lunges Pope. You see the lunge getting ready to happen. Pope, you are on hand. You have something of use in the scene. What do you do?
Pope has with him the implement he brought from his fight with, was it Obert Fig? The long iron meat hook.
Oh, yeah. Okay, good.
And I think he intercepts the swinging arm of the sculptor with this meat hook, and it kind of tears into the flesh of his arm. And
Yeah.
prevents it as it's descending toward Dr. Noble.
You can add the meat hook to your personal quarters and mark it to do advantage on a night move that is going to be with vitality. What are you afraid is going to happen if you fail?
He's going to kill Dr. Noble.
It's worse than that. It's going to kill you both. Go ahead and
Right.
go ahead and roll with vitality. 3 dice.
Okay, so it's
minus.
Yeah. That meat hook was already in my personal quarter, so I'm just marking it now, I guess.
Oh, you already had it. Oh, okay, I got it. Yeah. If you want to mark it now, you can get to take advantage. Go for it.
Okay, I rolled a 6, a 1, and a 5. So with a +1 vitality, that's a 12.
12 indeed. You'll be able to defeat him. You can't, per the rules of the game, you can't kill him or anything. He'll escape. But your bonus is he'll drop a clue on the way. So let's have that. Let's just, how do you dispatch him? He will escape. I think
the iron hook digs into the flesh of his arm as he tries to bring it down toward Dr. Noble. And he roars out in pain and twists away, pulling the iron hook with him out of Pope's hand, and makes for the door. The Pope came out of this was in Dr. Noble's laboratory, is that right?
I
think you said it was my room.
It was room, yeah.
Oh, was it the bedroom?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe Pope came in from the laboratory door, and the sculptor dashes out of the main door, and you hear him pounding down the stairs, and Pope goes to give chase, but his first just pauses not long enough to make sure that Dr. Noble is unhurt, and that gives the sculptor the time it needs to make it to the front door and out into the street.
Good. And the clue that he drops, is a newspaper clipping. He drops a newspaper clipping about a voyage to the Arctic recently had by the Navy, the Royal Navy. That's the clue. And anything you want to add to that scene, Dr. Noble?
As Pope is chasing the sculptor out, Dr. Noble will shakily take the jar, the sculptor's gift, and actually bring it to the lab and start to talk to the child more, and just to kind of vent and just kind of like try to talk through the strangeness of this is a gift for us, but I don't understand what he was thinking with the power. And then she'll like talk a little bit more to the child and just be comforting as well as tender, and basically as if she was going to get ready to raise the child. She's got one more piece left, or two more pieces left, and then she will see how it goes.
Miss Blakely, Theodora, upon you saying you're going to go get find that switch, Theodora says, "Oh dear, if punishment is in order, perhaps you'll allow me."
You've read my mind, my dear. I decided that I will take you up on your offer for this game, and as a thank you, I thought that you could perhaps do the honors, so to speak.
I'd love to. And her sapphire begins to glow very bright. And she thrusts her hand through his chest, like it just goes through his body, like her hand is immaterial. And he screams and cries out, and his skin goes very, very pale. His hair goes white. She's literally like draining his life force right now. What do you do?
Watch. And I say, well, my lady, I do believe that if it is punishment, then he should probably survive to suffer through it. But this is quite the interesting trick.
She pulls her hand out, and he collapses, a dead husk.
Well, that's a shame. It's quite useful to have a connection in Scotland Yard. But I suppose if this is the game we're going to play, then you've established some of the rules.
Perhaps we could continue this very, very soon, Miss Blakely. We're having a hunt out at Brathwaite Hall very, very soon. I'll be sure you get an invitation.
Well, I'm certain I will be able to join.
But for now, I think these boys need to go get their rest. They do get worked here very, very hard.
Yes, clearly I can tell.
And all of the dancers, they seem completely like, they're almost like in a catatonic state. Like they don't even understand what's going on, right? Like they're not reacting to any of this. And she says, "Can I walk you to a cab?"
Please. Thank you.
And she will.
I think Blakely takes her arm and they stroll out of the place, arm in arm. Very, very strange pair.
That will conclude the night phase. Let's go to the lovely dawn. Rewards. Figs Pigs rewards have been a long time coming.
Yeah, good job, everybody, on the Figs Pig stuff. I don't think I helped at all. Not a single thing.
It was not so much, no. Not so much. I think this is the one. Oop. I just clipped the rewards for you there. Take a look at that. And so yeah, take a look at what you might want here from this. Obert Fig's knife might already be in someone's possession. I don't know. Is it? Anyway, there's some other things in there as well. Regardless, what does
Yeah, I had a I had a meat hook from him, but I don't think that was the same thing, presumably.
Well, someone can have Obert Fig's great big knife if they want it, put it in their personal quarters. Or there's a large baking peel with a pig carved into it, a holy symbol of Mok. And if you take that one, you get to unmark the mask of the pig. The mask of the pig becomes available again. And, or a memento.
I did the Mask of the Pig, I think, right? Maybe I should.
Yeah, the Mask of the
I'll
Pig
take
is the one where you all have to describe your sacrifices to Mok in your dreams. And basically, by taking the holy symbol, you're inviting Mok into the story again, essentially.
I'll take that one. I like that.
I think I'll take the butcher knife if nobody else was really feeling it.
I had to Google what a baking peel was. I didn't know what that was.
It's the flat, yeah.
It's the
Yeah,
flat
the
wood
little
thing. Yeah, stick with bread and pieces out.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I didn't really help very much at all in this, so I think a little memento kind of makes the most sense.
I feel
Other
like
than something cool.
yeah, I mean it's not necessarily in character, but I feel like, want to keep the baking peel because it's reminiscent of the mock dream, as well as like tying into the Grand Guignol Baker's Son production.
Oh,
And
yeah, that is
Yeah.
it is kind of appropriate, specifically right now.
yeah, so
Um,
yeah, so I mean, Dr. Noble, for whatever reason, thinks like, oh, that's kind of cool.
we'll have
Moving
that.
parts, I'm like moving parts from like one place of the lab to another.
Who do you want to name your memento, Ms. Blakely?
Oh, let's give it to Rob, since Pope did the most with the figs, I think, if I recall. I could be recalling it correctly.
It's a fair amount, yeah. But Rob killed Obert, so or Pope did.
Yeah, what would be a good memento there? I'm trying to think of something from the pie shop.
Could be related to one of the clues.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah, the ravens, maybe. Yeah, I think, why don't we have a raven's feather?
Oh, I like it.
The Tower of London. Good. Let's keep going with our phase tracker here.
I know that in the chat, where's the thing? Somebody said oh, there we go. Yes, I think I know how it resolves. And this is figs. Did you want to go into that? Did we just kind of leaving her alone?
I mean, I imagine you just left her with Rabbi Solomon, right? Wasn't that the plan?
Yeah, I think that's what happens, but I think it's worse than that.
Oh, because you have to have proof of what happened to her, right?
Yeah, I think the arrangement is how I ended up with the butcher knife. I go to Scotland Yard. I say that I was pursuing La Hortensia, and she fled to the underground and was struck by a steam engine as she tried to get away from me. And this was the only thing that remained, and I present them afoot. So she is captive at the synagogue.
Yeah, very good. Dawn, questions. Everyone's getting the first two because you answered a question and resolved a threat. So everyone gets that. Sure Shot, did you have a Echo in the Night?
I think so. I tried to describe the scene echoing with the act, or the before the acts scene of Plaster and wooden walls and implements.
Oh yeah. Did you use violence to solve a problem? Yes, at the very end, especially. Did you encourage a fellow hunter to let loose for a change?
We went gambling.
Yeah, I feel like you were brought into that though. That wasn't like you convincing anyone else as much as it was Pope convincing you all to do this. Unless you did, this was something I missed.
I don't know whose idea it was. That worked. That'll be fine.
I think it might have actually been Sure Shot's idea. I think
I invited him to poker and then he invited me to baiting.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
right.
fair.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's okay then. You can work it. Pope, did you experience an echo in the night?
I was kind of aiming for one with the dancing, the echo between the Pope's memory of dancing and the desire of the baker's son in the
Oh yeah, I like
scene to
it.
dance.
Yeah, I'm into it. Yeah, that's good. Did you have a scene showing your secret private life in London? Well, yeah, that's the whole first scene. Did you ensure your employer got credit for your triumphs?
I don't think I got that one, no.
Dr. Noble, did you experience an echo in the night?
Unfortunately, the closest I think I got was basically mentioning the rat poison in the third act, and then, well, dealt with a lot of rats.
Oh, the rats. Oh, yeah. I'm kind of into it. I'm into it. I'm into it.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah, I'm into it. I mean, technically, it should be like a thing that happened like at night, but it's okay. It was in a dark place, so I think it counts. Did you secretly engage in romantic or emotional behavior at odds? Yes, you did. With the child. Did you have a conversation with the child? Yes, you did. So you did all yours. Let's go to Miss Blakely. Did you experience an echo in the night?
The idea of trying to present Lady Brathwaite with this person to punish as a gift. I was trying to reflect in the end of Act 3 when Daniel presents this meal, a bloody meal to his love,
I like it.
versus presenting a person to be bloodied.
No, that's great. Did you let someone touch you and then make them pay a price?
I don't think so.
Did you secretly show a vulnerable side to someone?
I don't know. I can't really think of anything specifically vulnerable. Yeah.
I don't think so. Okay, let's keep going. Playbook moves. The mother, resurrectionist. Oh, what are you taking? What body part did you get, Dr. Noble? Oh, also, I didn't say it, Miss Blakely, but that whole night phase with your character marks the scars, the reflection.
Dang it.
I think in this case, the feet.
Okay. Do you want to give us a flashback?
Can I have a minute to think about that for a second? It just feels like a really weird one.
We can do it next time. It's fine.
Yeah, okay, great.
And with that, I think that's everything. Yep.
Really quick, what happened to my cathedral?
Sure.
With that mark. I believe that reflecting all the idea that these small poor places are more dimly lit. I think all the gas lamps that were put into the cathedral are suddenly broken and don't work, and it has to be lit with only candles now. So it's quite a lot more dim, and it looks a little bit more raggedy because of that.
I love it. Stars and wishes. Whoever wants to go first, take it away.
I really enjoyed taking Miss Blakely and Sure Shot on a tour of the seedier side of London's gambling. That was pretty fun. And getting to use the My Person Friday move is always enjoyable.
Stars to David for the having the vulnerable move wager working with the mechanic of asking the character a question. That was lovely. I love that.
Oh gosh, I have so many stars. I really loved the wager thing too. I thought that was amazing. The unlikely trio of rat baiters was so much fun. David, I really liked your unseen. It was really great, like as an act two in a play. It was excellent. It was very evocative and awesome. Star for Jason for how unbelievably creepy the sculptor was. Holy hell, so good. I really liked when when Pope was like completely deflecting all of Miss Blakely's like, no, like me more than you like Dr. Normal kind of stuff. It was very well done, and yeah, it was good. And I really liked the Madzia reaction to the sculptor, like at playing Dr. Noble, reacting to the sculptor, just being like, even your face, you know, you were the reaction to the how dare you suggest I would do this kind of thing. And it was, yeah, it was very on point, and I was very stuck in the moment for that. Yay, stars.
I had a great time. I really I love all of Dr. Noble's interactions with the child, including flashbacks that related to it. I just love all those interactions. They're so good. It's a terrific expression of like what the playbook is supposed to be about. So I so star there for sure. Star as well for the ratting scene. It was great fun. I enjoyed that a lot. It was because it's Victoriana, right? Like that is Victoriana, and like it, and so it was kind of good to get that Victoriana, you know, in there. I thought that was really great. um I liked the sort of like humanity in dealing with the figs, but there's like just a shading of like the darkness of Hargrave House that goes with it, right? So it's like you know, there's like compromises there to that, which I thought were really great. I just liked how all that was handled. I love the final scene with Theodora in at the theater and Miss Blakely. That relationship continues to be very, very interesting. And I like this threat a lot. This threat is really good, and I'm going to shower praise on it because it's not mine. I didn't write it. Um, I love the writing of it. I love the characters. I love the details, the texture. It is erotic. It is grotesque. It's all these like really wonderful things. I think Ben just really like kind of captured the essence of my game, so I love it for that reason.
Yeah, I think my stars, I really liked how Amanda, in the scene with Miss Blakely, interposing herself into another vulnerable scene. I thought that was perfect. That was great. That was really fun. I loved the twist of getting us out of that vulnerable scene with the like giant broom full of rats that La Hortensia unleashed. That was really cool. That was,
well, that's her thing as written
idea
too. She leaves traps. She's a trapper, right? She kind of like sets up traps for people.
Yeah, that was a really good one. It's not what I was expecting. I was just expecting like debris to come down or something, but it's like, oh, that was great. Like, oh man, the scene with the nutcracker, or so the sculptor, meeting with Dr. Noble was great. And like having read the threat, it's like, yep, that threat freaking works. Like you can just read the prompt right off in the voice, and it's like we're flying. But it's like it's great. It's great keeping to pick your moment and to set that scene where once again, Dr. Noble's personal quarters and her sanctum is violated.
It's because of Most Beloved. That's right. It's only because of Most Beloved. That is the reason why all that's happening, right? Yeah.
But it's great. Like it's really good. Pope's always in for a thing. I'm glad we got to see his Vice in play. I thought that was great. Like that was really, really fun. And of course, we finally got to see the Blakely Pope interaction.
Yes, a long-standing wish.
Long overdue, yeah.
Yeah, definitely long overdue. And I mean that's a star in itself, because I was like, oh my God, is she gonna do it? No.
It was a good scene too. Like just
yeah, it was excellent. Totally good.
Well, and also I thought it was great that like I wasn't really consciously thinking of this, but I like how Theodora gave Miss Blakely some turnabout as fair play on that, right? By basically with the police constable, right? Which I thought was really intriguing. Yeah, that's great. If I have a wish for next time, I'm going to keep exploring these newer threats that I've never run before. I'm excited to do that. Yeah. Or at least run publicly on my YouTube.
Wish more of this spooky, creepy Sculptor stuff. I really like these. I mean, I really
Sculptor's a
like all
great
the threats,
character.
but
Yeah.
the serial killer kind of threats that are in this game are just, I don't know. There's something creepy about regular people doing these things rather than ghosts and such.
Regular people being sick freaks, right? Like,
Yeah, like that's ghost. Okay, yeah, I get it. You're tormented, and okay, a traumatic cannibal family. Yeah, that's sad. I get that, but just creepy people being creepy is absolutely fun. Just so much fun. So more Sculptor. I'm excited. That's my wish.
I have
Yeah, that's
another.
gonna.
It's not really a star. It's more of an observation, but like I really, this is the case in my other campaign where the figs were one of the threats, and it's that because the structure of the threat, because you have to resolve all three prompts, the structure of the threat makes the figs this ongoing long-term background problem, you know, and I like it because it's a story that seems simple on the surface as presented, to the point of even having like a children's rhyme in the beginning, but then like as you go, because it hangs around so long, you get time to like kind of get into its details and the sort of like lore of the figs, and I really enjoyed all that. Like it's just fun to see it play out. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to. I think we only have one threat on the board now, so it feels like the next session might be quite a focused one, going after that Sculptor. That should be fun.
Shall see.
We'll get another one at the top of the
Right. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
order.
I didn't note it, but I'm giving you all you're all getting 2 mastermind clues because of Theodora's behavior in this particular session. One with Kip and one with Miss Blakely.
Oh, how far along on that track are we? Pretty far, right?
You are on 10 now. Yeah. Yeah, it's great. It's really, really good. You are now at that's a threshold thing. We'll see if it plays out in the future, how it plays out. Anything else before we go? Okay, that was a lot of session. It was a lot going on. It was pretty intense. It was good stuff. I'm gonna stop the recording.